welcome the President of the European Council, António Costa, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the Secretary General of ETUC, Esther Lynch, and the Director General of Business Europe, Markus Beirer. And let me immediately give the floor to President Costa.
Eh bien, bonjour. D'abord, chère Ursula, dear Esther, dear Frederick.
I'm sorry.
Eh bien, on a terminé maintenant le sommet social. C'est un moment très important de la vie de notre Union. Tout d'abord parce qu'on doit rester proche de nos concitoyens et de nos sociétés. Et ce dialogue social, c'est assez important pour que la définition des politiques publiques européennes puisse être prise en compte. Dans la descente de cette politique, on peut prendre en compte la considération de nos partenaires sociaux. Donc, merci beaucoup à la Confédération européenne des syndicats, aux représentants de Business Europe et d'autres partenaires sociaux pour ce moment qui est inscrit dans notre pilier du droit européen social, et c'est aussi une partie intégrante de notre modèle social européen, de notre économie sociale de marché. Demain, le Conseil européen sera dédié à la compétitivité. Et la compétitivité, c'est clé pour assurer une prospérité partagée, pour assurer des emplois de qualité, mais aussi pour protéger nos valeurs et soutenir nos efforts de défense collective. est clair pour tous que la précondition de notre compétitivité, c'est renforcer notre sécurité. Sécurité vis-à-vis l'extérieur, sécurité intérieure, c'est une précondition de la compétitivité. Mais pour renforcer la compétitivité, il faut tout d'abord réduire la bureaucratie, réduire les coûts d'énergie. En deuxième, de notre côté, investir plus en éducation, compétences, recherche et innovation. Et finalement, conclure le marché intérieur, notamment les marchés des capitaux, et aussi développer un réseau de traités commerciaux qui nous permettent d'ouvrir des marchés pour nos exportations, mais aussi pour rassurer notre chaîne de valeur. Donc, la Commission vient de présenter dans le développement des rapports Letta et Draghi la boussole pour la compétitivité et commence à présenter les communications des propositions concrètes pour qu'on puisse renforcer notre compétitivité. C'est à nous, maintenant, le Conseil européen, de donner le support politique à ces efforts et de demander aux co-législateurs, le Conseil et le Parlement européen, qui approuvent finalement les mesures qu'on a besoin pour renforcer notre compétitivité. Donc, merci à tous et à toutes.
Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Antonio, dear Esther, dear Frederick. Thank you for a very successful Tripartite Summit. It comes just 2 weeks after signing our new pact for a European social dialogue. So that is the spirit of European social dialogue, and it's alive and doing well. And we will keep it strong throughout this mandate. We all know that Europe's social market economy has never been only about markets, but it's about people. And in times of global transformation, that really matters. We can only boost Europe's competitive edge and ensure that no one is left behind if all of us work very closely together. Our industries and our SMEs face major challenges. We have discussed this many times here in this room. High energy prices, skill shortages, insufficient access to finance, just to name a few. We are tackling these challenges head-on. We are pressing hard. I know we have to do more. In the first 100 days of the new Commission, we set the course to make Europe more competitive, indeed, by the competitiveness compass. And now we are working basically on the 3 pillars: closing the innovation gap, having a joint roadmap for decarbonization and competitiveness, and reducing the dependencies while increasing our resilience and our security. We are working now with the different sectors. We started with the Clean Industrial Deal. We mobilized 100 billion euros for clean technologies so that innovative European companies can continue to lead and provide quality jobs. We're supporting energy-intensive industries with an energy action plan. And now we will be working with the different sectors from automotive to chemical to the steel sector, where actually today the college agreed on an action plan for the steel sector. Important is, and this is why I mention it, that in all these strategic dialogues within the action plans, the social partners, of course, are involved and are part of the strategic dialogues, because you are the ones who know best what businesses and what workers need. Speaking of access to capital, here too the savings of Europeans are significant. What they lack is a savings and investment union. Today, also in the morning in the college, we agreed on the proposal for the savings and investment union. Now we have to make sure that it goes through Parliament and Council. It will enable companies to raise the funding they need more efficiently. It will give citizens more choices to get better returns on their savings. And of course, it will provide financing for our common European priorities. Finally, last but certainly not least, all the things I was just discussing are impossible without people, without skilled workers. Therefore, I am very happy that earlier this month we launched the Union of Skills. And we want to design together with you, the social partners, our European quality jobs roadmap. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, but this day here, this summit was very reassuring. Together, I think we can move mountains, so I'm looking forward to the next month.
Now the floor is to the Secretary General of ETUC, Mrs. Esther Lynch.
Thanks so much, and I want to say I'm very encouraged after we've had this meeting. We came with a strong message. It was security is impossible without a strong and fair economy. And a strong and fair economy is impossible without investments for quality jobs and public services. And we've insisted that the EU spending rules must be suspended and member states must invest for our future. We need a Sure-To type mechanism. And I was really encouraged by the discussion that we had about the idea that we were putting forward about transformation plans being properly supported soon, that we would be able, before companies get into difficulty, for support to be available for companies in advance of becoming in a redundancy situation, that there would be support for transformation plans to be negotiated, and whether it's training or other investments, so that would be available. We had a really interesting discussion on it, and I look forward to the future to see how those ideas will be taken up. Because let's make no mistake about it, there's a crisis. 500 jobs going every day. 100,000 will be gone between now and the next time we have a TSS without action. They're very encouraged by the employers as well, who also said we need action now. On the deregulation agenda, we came with a proposal for a massive simplification in public procurement rules. The public procurement rules are far too complicated, and the result of those complicated public procurement rules is that companies that have collective agreements, that invest in the workforce, invest in training, invest for better ways to do things, are losing contracts, because the only simple question that's asked is, what's the price? And so companies competing on lower price, on lower terms and conditions and lower wages are winning the contracts. That's not fair, that's not right. They need to change that. And we can do that through a massive simplification. Questions built around, does the company have a collective agreement? That's the type of simplification we want to see, a simplification that improves the outcomes. So for us, we understand we've been heard about the enormity of the challenge, the importance of the challenge, the immediacy of the challenge. We very much welcome the openness of the employers, the institutions, working with working people and their trade unions. And I think the big message going out from us is that Europe won't be bullied out of our social model. We won't be bullied out of our solidarity between member states, between working people, and between working people and employers. So thank you.
And now the floor is to the President of Business Europe, Frederick Burson.
Thank you. Dear Ursula, dear Antonio, for starters, thank you so much for hosting this extremely important platform and meeting, and thank you for good cooperation, dear Esther. I guess the first 100 days more feel like 200 or 300, and honestly, the only easy day was yesterday, because we are in a rescue operation. There can be no quality jobs if there are no quality companies, and quality companies that act in an investment-friendly location. It's as simple as that. We are under siege. And why is this so important? To protect, as the President pointed out, European values and the European way of life. This is what's at stake. And we need to get a negotiating leverage. We need to invest in our defense. We need to stand by Ukraine. And just remember, if we would have grown like the US for the last 20 years, our defense spend in absolute terms would have been 50% higher. So growth might not be the solution to all problems, but it's key to getting Europe more resilient, more safer, and more stronger. What needs to be done? And dear Ursula, you already alluded to it, that I tend to always call out the sense of urgency and that things need to be done faster. And I think that is an echo of the extensive travel I'm doing across Europe, meeting our members. They're in a dire situation, and the recent proposals are for sure a step in the right direction, and it's a strong step in the right direction. But we need further action to lower energy costs, ease regulatory burden, remove barriers in the single market. We need to open up new opportunities for those quality companies with those quality jobs in places with Mercosur and Mexico, and also salute the initiative you took to go to India, because impossible is nothing. We need to move beyond talking about ambitions and talking about what needs to be done. And I've pledged that we will bring the concrete suggestions and solutions to the table, and then we could together, based on the recently signed Pact for Social Dialogue, that is a strong platform to move forward, because as said, no quality jobs if not quality companies, and of course vice versa. Because for me, everything boils down to that the strength of the European economy is the starting point of the strength of Europe and the defense of our European values and a place we're so proud to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me open the floor to the questions. We'll start here. No.
Yeah. Razia Akoch, AFP News Agency. Since you're talking a lot about defence, I'm hoping I can somehow swing this question in. Today we've had the news that the mayor of Istanbul has been detained in Turkey, which is an EU candidate country. And since Turkey's made a strong recent demand for membership, some critics oppose any work with Turkey on defence. And so I'd like to know the response to those questions from the European Commission President and the European Council President. Thank you.
So we think that the arrest of the mayor is deeply concerning. As a Council of Europe member that Turkey is, and an EU candidate country, Turkey must uphold the democratic values, especially the rights of elected officials. So we want Turkey to remain anchored to Europe, but this requires a clear commitment to democratic norms and practices, and it is key that Turkey respects these fundamental principles.
I fully agree with the President of the European Commission.
Thank you. Anna?
Hi, Anna Buch from La Vanguardia. Still on defense, I would like to ask Mr. President Costa and President von der Leyen on the partial Ukrainian ceasefire. I would like to know if you rule out stop sending weapons to Ukraine in order to facilitate peace as Kremlin demands, and if you have doubts about this deal after last night's attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. Thank you.
Well, I hope that the call yesterday was a step for a comprehensive, just and lasting peace in Ukraine. No one more than Ukrainians want peace, and we are supporting Ukraine. We have been supporting Ukraine since day one, and we will continue to support Ukraine now, in future negotiations, and especially in peace time when Ukraine became a member state of the European Union. I have a call now with President Zelensky, and I will debrief the Council tomorrow, but we will remain supporting Ukraine, as we have done since day one.
I have exactly the same position.
Oh. It's a tripartite dialogue.
Okay. A final question to Susanna.
Thank you. It's a kind of follow-up, because President von der Leyen proposed this readiness 2030. I would like to understand why 2030. Are you afraid that by then Russia can be a threat to the European again? Is this the time the Europeans have to get themselves prepared? And if I may, also related to social rights, since we are talking about social, if you can, because at some point everything that you have been proposing to increase defense, you have to be paid, because this is debt. So the question is how to avoid cuts, and I'm thinking about pensions, but not only. Thank you.
Okay, 2030, readiness 2030. If we look at the capability gaps that we have, and the needs also in infrastructure and military mobility, for example, tasks that the European Union urgently has to fulfill, then it is a question of action now that has to come immediately. But we have to push hard that we have the level we want to have by 2030. And this is also the reason why, coming to your second question, this is the reason why we offered the funding possibilities. This is additional money. This is additional money because the so-called SAFE program, the 150 billion, is fresh money raised on the capital markets. And if you look at the national escape clause for the individual member states, it is the possibility for them to have additional money, more fiscal space they can use exemplary for defense investment. So for us it's very important that we do not come into an either-or situation, but that we know this is additional money that can be invested in defense. Here I want to add one point, and Frederick, you mentioned it very well. If we had had the growth, we could have had invested more in defense. This sentence is also true for your question. With this money comes an enormous push, because we want more European production, an enormous push to innovation, to research, development, and, of course, production within good jobs in the European Union. And therefore, if we use the money smartly, this is an enormous innovation push, it's an enormous investment push that creates good jobs and that creates productivity growth. That is the goal of the whole exercise.
Thank you very much. That's it for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.